said, I'm Dawn LeBeau, and I'm the program officer here at Akiptan. Today, our webinar is all about Akiptan. We have Skya Ducheneaux here today, who's our executive director, and she will be talking about all of the things that we are doing at our CDFI. I'll go ahead and introduce her. Skya is an enrolled member of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe in Eagle Butte, South Dakota, and she spent her first 18 years of life on a cattle ranch here on the Cheyenne River Res. She has an MBA in business administration, and she previously spent her summers interning at the IAC, which is the Intertribal Agriculture Council, where she was introduced to the Native CDFI world. CDFI stands for Community Development Financial Institution. She worked diligently to create this CDFI Akiptan, which is the first national Native CDFI dedicated to Indian agriculture. And it launched in 2019. And she remains connected to agriculture just from another side of the table. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Skya.
Thank you, Dawn. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope things are all going well in your corners of Indian country. We can go ahead and get started. So we are just here today to learn a little bit more about Akiptan and our programs, programs meaning our financing and all the other stuff that we have going on at Akiptan. So for just a little bit of background, Akiptan, as Dawn mentioned, is a CDFI. A CDFI is a Community Development Financial Institution, which is just a really fancy way of saying a nonprofit bank. And in our mission, our CDFI specifically is dedicated to financing the Native American agriculture industry. So we only finance Native ag operations. And while we are based here in Eagle Butte, South Dakota on the Cheyenne River Res, we do lend nationwide all across Indian country. So over here at Akiptan, we do things a little bit differently. We really practice patient capital, and we focus on the relational side of lending just as much as the transactional side of lending, which is really reflective of our lending philosophy and reflective of our name. So Akiptan is the Lakota word for like teamwork, doing something cooperatively in a joint effort. And so our lending philosophy is really at the heart of how we got here, who we are, what we do, and how we do it. So CDFIs in general, like I mentioned, we're like banks. We loan out money. Where we do differ is a lot of CDFIs are not depositories typically, meaning like you can't have a checking account with us or a savings account. We just loan out money. But with that lending, we also provide a lot of technical assistance. And that is really tailored to the producer and their needs, their wants, their desires. And I can talk a little bit more about our technical assistance later, but it really meets the producer where they're at and is able to fulfill their needs. So the cool thing about CDFIs is, of course, there's laws we have to follow, but we're unregulated. So that's also where we differ from banks, which allows us to be super creative, super innovative, and super flexible with how we lend. And you'll kind of see that here in a little bit. So we have been lending since January 2019, and we have deployed loans on 24 different tribal nations, committed over 16 million in loan capital in 239 loans, which is really exciting. These last couple of years, we have had exponential growth, and super proud of our team for making it happen. Okay, so just a little bit more of a deep dive into our bread and butter, because we do lots of things, but our loans and our technical assistance is really who we are as a core, at the core of our CDFI. So we've got 4 different loan products, you could call them. So we've got our youth loan, our general loan, and then we do operating loans and lines of credit. And then we also have our land mortgage / down payment assistance product. And I get into those more specifically later on, but I do want to take a minute to talk about our technical assistance, and that is paired with everything that we do. Every single loan gets some level of technical assistance. Sometimes it's really high level, sometimes it is very in the weeds, sometimes it is just basic financial literacy, and sometimes it goes into like succession planning or marketing strategy or something like that. It's really catered to the producer's needs. So we help our producer figure out goals, like real tangible goals that they can work towards, and just kind of anything that they're looking for. We're really just like a one-stop shop to be able to help you figure out your operations goals and business plan and stuff. And when I say business plan, I don't always mean your 20-page business plan you might have had to write in school or something like that. Business plans do not always need to be that crazy, complicated, and intense. Sometimes it's more of like a quick one-page summary with some financial projections, and we definitely do both of those. So to be involved or to be eligible for our programs and services and financing, you must be involved in the native agriculture field. So more specifically, our eligibility policy says you have to improve the Indian use of Indian resources. And so that can mean anything on the food chain, from initial production, value added, transportation, retail, all of the above, anything native ag related, you're eligible for our programs and products and services, and you're welcome to apply. That's a little bit different than maybe some of your local CDFIs. A lot of CDFIs will do other small business, they will do credit building loans, other consumer loans and things like that. And we are just very specific native agriculture related. So that's also where we differ just a little bit. So the first product that I want to talk about is our youth loan. And we have recently increased our loan limits for the youth. So you can go up to 10 grand if you fit in that age range. You can use it for 4-H, FFA, and any kind of activity you might be involved in. You can also use it if you're not involved in one of those agriculture groups or activities, and if you just want to start your own agriculture business as well. You can also pair it with an FSA youth loan to get double the capital, up to 12 years repayment. I will talk about our repayment styles here in a little bit. But that's a little bit about our youth loan. We know the youth are super important to tomorrow's agriculture, so we want to make sure that we are financing the whole ecosystem of agriculture, and that absolutely involves youth. We've got a couple other youth programs that I'll talk about here towards the end of the webinar. Then we've got our general loan, and this is kind of like a catch-all. So our general loan can be used to finance livestock, equipment, infrastructure. If you're involved in production or value added, this is kind of like a catch-all where most of our loans are deployed under the general loan product. Our loan limit is currently $250,000, and that is per person, not per loan. So you can't get like 3 loans for $250,000. This is kind of just like our catch-all that fills all the gaps. And then next I want to talk about our operating line of credit. And this is just pretty standard with how you might get an annual operating note or just your regular line of credit at your bank. That $250,000 individual limit also applies to this product. Lastly, our land mortgage and down payment product. So we can go up to 30 years of repayment on this. The $250,000 limit is still there. You can use this to consolidate interest, to buy your first patch of land or your 10th patch of land. You can use it for land and a building combination, and kind of just anything. But we also recognize that $250,000 is not a lot of money when you're going to buy land. Land is super, super expensive. So we like to be flexible with our land loan product. And you can also use our $250,000 as a down payment and then have a bank or some other traditional finance entity finance the rest of it. If you're looking at a piece of land that's $1 million, we can help provide that down payment for the $250,000. We can be super creative. Since we get a lot of flexibility in our lending, we're comfortable taking like second lien positions and stuff like that, which makes us be able to fill some really unique gaps and be really creative with our lending to help you, the producer, get to where you want to be. So we've got two different repayment styles, and the first one everybody's seen. So it's the traditional repayment option. And so that's just blended payments from the start, meaning principal and interest from the start. We are a little bit unique in the sense that we offer longer loan terms than what you would traditionally see at a bank. And that's just part of our patient capital philosophy. So if you go to a bank and apply for a loan, they might give you 3 years of repayment. Well, it might do like 7 or something like that. It's definitely a case-by-case basis, but we are comfortable making that long-term commitment with our producers and making our loan terms longer than normal in order to let our producers have a healthier cash flow, be able to reinvest their profits back into their operation, and be able to operate successfully that way. Our most innovative and most unique, and what we're really proud of here at Akiptan, is we've also got an interest-only repayment option. And this is also to just be really reflective of our lending philosophy, and to be super patient with our repayment terms. So we will do up to 5 years interest only before switching to the blended repayments. And so that 5 years interest only is specifically designed if you've got lots of room to grow. So if you are a new and beginning producer who has lots of room to grow, this option is really great for you. Even if you're an established producer, but you've got lots of room to grow with your operation, this is really great. Your payments are significantly smaller, which allows you to take your cash, to take your profits, reinvest them back in yourself, to upgrade your equipment, upgrade your infrastructure. If you're a cattle producer, it allows you to keep back more heifer calves to grow your herd that way, so you can get the genetics that you want and things like that. It really gives us a lot of flexibility and a lot of wiggle room when we're trying to help you get your business plan together. And it's really designed to help you grow the assets on your balance sheets. And it works really great for a lot of producers. Both options work really great for a lot of producers. And we are happy to work with you as your loan officer to figure out which option is best for you. So here's just a quick example of the payment differences with the traditional repayment option and the interest-only repayment option. And so your annual, if you took $250,000 out, 2.8% interest is a little bit old. Our interest rate is right around 3% right now. But your annual loan payment would be about 40 grand if we termed that out over 7 years, which is something we would typically do for like livestock producers, or if you're getting like equipment or something like that. 7 years seems to be working really, really well for our producers. So a lot of times you see terms at 7 years. So that's the example that we're using here. So your annual payment is 40 grand with our traditional repayment option. If you go to our interest only repayment option, while you're in that interest only, your interest rate is a little bit higher. So it would be like 5.5%, but it would drop down to 3% when you go to the blended repayment styles. But anyways, so there's a little bit difference in the interest rate there. But instead of that $40,000 annual payment, your annual payment is going to be $14,000, somewhere right around there. And I don't need to tell you, you guys all are well aware what that would do to your cash flow. Like the amount that you would be able to upgrade your infrastructure, upgrade your equipment to be able to produce more efficiently and more effectively. If you're like in a value-added operation or something like that, that would increase your bottom line if you were just able to reinvest back in yourself. If you're a livestock producer looking to keep back heifer calves, how many more heifer calves is that you can keep back and grow your herd that way without having to take on additional debt? There's so many options and so many ways we can work this to help you in your operation. So there's a ton of flexibility. And then even at that, then we term it out for the 7 years or whatever it might be after you make those interest only payments, and it's still super patient and still super good for your cash flow and your bottom line. So our loan process is pretty standard, but we've got a few little extra things in there. So I want to be sure to go over that. So there's kind of like 4 phases of our loan process. The first one is just that discovery/intake phase. It's where we really start to get to know you and your client, get to know you as our client and our partner in your operation. We do the intake form, make sure you're eligible, get you the checklist of all the things that we're going to ask for. And that's pretty standard. We ask for cash flow, balance sheet, projections, depending on your loan ask, we'll ask for like leases or copy of insurance, just kind of stuff like that. And if you're already a client at the FSA or at your local bank and they've got all these things on file already, we can just take those templates. You don't have to recreate them for us. We're comfortable working with your other lenders as well. So then you kind of move into the technical assistance and application completion phase. And so what that looks like is working with your loan officer to figure out what are you wanting to do? Like, are you just wanting a loan for more cows? Are you wanting it for equipment? And what's kind of the plan? And where do you want to go from here and what do you want to do? And so this is where you really get to know your loan officer, and you guys have lots of calls, visits, chats, and all the things. And during all that, getting to visit and getting to know each other, we'll complete your financial projections with you. We'll sign off on those. We'll get your business and goal planning stuff with your loan officer all taken care of. We've got we're creating our own financial literacy curriculum series. So sometimes with producers, especially if the new and beginning farmers and ranchers, we'll kind of go over some financial literacy stuff just to make sure that you understand everything that you're putting together. We're super thorough and super transparent about that. We probably over explain things, but it's just because we want to make sure that our producers are well informed and fully aware of everything that's going on and the next steps and all that. We want to make sure that you are fully informed of what's going on and stuff. And then we'll also work with you on what repayment option works best for you, and what works best for your operation and what you're comfortable with. So we'll work through that process, and that's done very collaboratively. If you ever have questions, all you have to do is call your loan officer, text them, email them, come to the office, just kind of whatever works. It's a super flexible process. So then next we'll go to review and closing. So once you're done with your loan officer, the loan officer creates a loan narrative that comes to me. I just have another set of eyes on it to make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and 2 + 2 = 4 on the financials. And then it goes to the loan committee, and our loan committee reviews it. They might have some questions, they might not. Usually the loan officer can answer all the questions. And then if it's approved, we sign the loan closing documents and we go from there, and it's off to the races. If denied, there's going to be a reason why. It's usually not just like, no, sorry about your luck. It's no, because here's what we can do to possibly make this approvable. It's like usually more of like a not yet option. And we can go back to the drawing board and figure out, like, was there something we missed? Are our projections off? But you'll work with your loan officer on that. Like, this is not done independently. You definitely have your loan officer as a resource. So then if it's closed and it's all good, you just got to submit the invoices, quotes, or whatever we need to disperse the funds. Site visits as needed. And then what is unique to us is we've got informal quarterly check-ins. And this is just to help really build that relationship with our borrower. We definitely want to focus on the relational side of lending as well. And our quarterly check-ins are pretty informal, usually just a couple of minutes on the phone, or if you stop by the office, and it's a lot of, hey, how are things going? Is there anything you need from us to help you? Or, hey, I seen your area is in a drought. Did you get signed up for the NAP program at the FSA? You know what I mean? And then it's just kind of things like that to make sure that you're on track, that you don't need anything from us, you don't have any questions, you don't need any extra assistance. If there's like a spring storm that kind of throws things off, we can be proactive versus reactive in that regard. And it's really informal, and it's just to make sure that you don't feel abandoned by us, and that we are here to help you. And we want you to know that we are on your side and we are on your team, and we want to be a resource to you. And then of course there's the annual financial reviews, where we adjust projections as needed, gather your taxes, and just make sure that, like your budget's on track and you're still making progress, you're growing equity in your balance sheet, and just different things like that. And then any other kind of further technical assistance that is needed is given. So if you call us and you're like, hey, I need to rework my marketing plan, our answer is going to be absolutely. How can we help you? What do you need from us? We're definitely a resource. We always tell our clients too, like if you get a wild hair and have some idea and you want us to help you run numbers to see if it'll work, bring us your crazy ideas and let's run the numbers and see what we can get gathered up. We're happy to do any of that with you and for you. And so that's also where we try to go the extra mile to be a full service one-stop shop for our producers. So in addition to all of that, we have a programs department that's been super busy. So we currently have a college scholarship for youth, for high school seniors who are going into any kind of agriculture career. So of course there's like the really obvious options like agriculture science, ag business, and or any kind of soil science, biology, anything like that is, of course, that's eligible. But also if you wanted to go to school and get your communications degree because you want to work for an agriculture newspaper, that counts and you are eligible. So you can find all of the college scholarship application materials, eligibility requirements, all that on our website. We have a youth internship program, which will be relaunching again in the summer of 2023. We conducted a market study last summer about the native ag finance industry. Right before Christmas, I got that 180-page market study back, and that was the best Christmas present ever. We're getting ready to release that. There was a lot of really cool information in that market study, a lot of gaps that in the industry all across Indian country that we're working to try to figure out how to help fill and how to meet more demands. And so hopefully in the next couple of weeks, that'll be coming out. We're super excited to share those findings with everybody. And we try to do monthly webinars, at least monthly, and around a plethora of different topics. In the past, we've done webinars around tax planning and tax prep. We did one about succession planning. We partnered with Indian Land Tenure Foundation to do a 2-part series around like Indian Lands 101 and how did we get here with trust land and what does that mean and all that. And all of our webinars are recorded on our website as well. So if you ever wanted to go back and get all that information, it's all on there. This one will be on there probably within the week if I had to guess as well, to be able to share. And then we've got a bunch of other resources on our website as well. So we've got all of our application materials on our website, or you can send us an email at info@akiptan.org and we can get you the application materials. There's different handouts online about like a business plan outline. We're working on other handouts around like steps 1 through 10 of succession planning. What do I do? Where do I do it? How do I do it? And different things like that. So we're always adding things to our website as well. We've got success stories and blogs and just different templates, and that's always growing and always changing, and we're always adding things to that as well. So if you're not already, get signed up for our newsletter because we always announce things on there. On our social media, we're active on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and LinkedIn. So you can follow us there to keep up with everything that's going on. And then we can definitely answer some questions, but here is our contact information. And with that, I see there's a bunch in the chat. Dawn, is there any specific questions?
I was just putting in all the links so people could easily click them and go directly to the stuff. But there is one question here, and you kind of already answered it, but it says, for potential clients, do we just share the website, or is there another way to contact?
Yes. So for potential clients, you can share the website, you can give them our number, you can give them our email, they can stop on by, just kind of whatever is easiest. But if they just call and say, like, tell me more, we can tell them more. We're pretty flexible, but yeah, sharing our website is also a really easy way for people to get in contact with us. I see a couple other questions. Do you
Want me to read them off, or you got them?
I got it here. Thank you, though. Cool. There's one in there for us to send you an email. Yes, we will do that. Do you do land refinancing? That's one thing I forgot to cover, so thank you for bringing that up. Yes, we also do refinancing. So if you're at a lender who has given you unrealistic terms, or it's really stressing your cash flow or anything like that, yes, you can come to Akiptan and we can refinance your debt, whether that is your livestock note, a land note, anything like that. Would we be able to finance feed costs for retained ownership? I'm not sure I 100% understand that question. I'm pretty sure I do, but maybe follow up with one of us to be more specific. But we do get really creative and really innovative with how we finance things, and how we go about that and how it looks. So more than likely, we could get something figured out. The heirs relending property program. Yes, so I touched on it a little bit. So we are an approved relender through the FSA. The FSA gave us some money to then relend to our clients. And this money is specifically for consolidating highly fractionated land interest. We know highly fractionated land proliferates Indian country, and it can get really problematic when it comes to accessing land and control of the land and doing what you need to. So we have separate money specifically set aside to finance land loans that are to buy out interest so that you can consolidate interest in land. But we have money available to also just buy a chunk of land. We can do both. I see there's a question about fishing. So we fielded some inquiries. Nothing has came through so far, but we definitely, fishing is something that we can do. There's so much more to agriculture than corn and cows. And I'm in the heart of corn and cattle country, so I say that knowing that. But we can do fishing, forestry, mushroom farms, aquaculture, anything native ag related. But yes, we can absolutely do fishing. And yeah, and if you guys have any questions that might pop up later today, tomorrow, next week, next month, just don't be shy about reaching out. Don't hesitate or anything like that. And if we don't have an answer, we can definitely get you one. The Intertribal Agriculture Council is also a really great resource who can help you with the application process. In addition to us, they're also a really great resource for other programs as well. So we can definitely get you set up pretty sweet and get you ready for success with whatever inquiry you might have. If there's no more questions, I know that was a lot of information really fast, but Dawn, did you want to close this out?
Yeah, I did want to ask one question that I often hear. People often want to know what does the timeline look like, and you went over it briefly, but can you just explain that a little bit more? Because that's one question I hear a lot.
Yep, the timeline. So I have seen loans go through as quick as like 2 weeks from start to closing. I've also seen them take a couple months. So it is dependent upon a couple things. The first thing it's dependent upon is your ability to get us the missing information, and it's also dependent on our ability to process it. So right now we are in our super busy season, so things move through a little bit slower. And then in the summertime, we don't have as many applications just because of the nature of cycles of agriculture. So things typically go through a little bit faster in the summer. The advice I always give is to apply as early as possible, because we can hold that funding and still disperse that should there be no significant changes. So if in the fall you are, I grew up on a cattle ranch, so I use cattle as an example a lot, but this is, if it's across the board, if in the fall, you want to buy more bred heifers in the springtime, go ahead and apply with us in the fall. It might get approved in November. And even though you don't want to buy until February, March, we can hold that approved money for you until you're ready to use it. That way we're just ready to go.
There's a couple more questions in the chat.
Oh, okay, give me 1 second. Legalized recreational marijuana. Okay, yeah, Oglala Sutai is an example of that. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky. We cannot lend for illegal purposes, and marijuana is legal on OST. However, we get a lot of federal funds. And with federal funds, if it's not federally legal, then typically that's going to be a no. Just because of our federal funds, and that means it has to be federally legal as well. So I hope that answered that question. And then Jeff, you are able to get our information from other lenders such as USDA. Yes, okay, so that's definitely one way to make things go a lot faster. If you're currently a lender or a borrower at FSA and they have your balance sheet, your cash flow, your projections and all that, we have just a form that you sign. It's called a credit authorization, and that lets us contact your other lenders. All you have to do is sign that and give us the email of your loan officer, whether they're at the USDA or they're at the bank across the street. Then we can just email them and be like, hey, can you send over these financial statements? And then it saves you a couple steps and it makes things a lot easier. So yes, we can absolutely do that as well. And it does help make it go a little bit faster. That way you don't have to sit down and take the time to redo financials you've already done once before. So we don't want to make you have to keep coming up with the same information. We're happy to take that from other lenders. Thank you, Book, for sharing. Yes, and then more webinars to come. And yeah, Dawn, is there anything else before we let everybody get back to their super busy days?
Nope, you covered everything pretty thoroughly.
All right, well, like I said, if you guys have any questions, you have our contact information, please just feel free to reach out at any time. And yes, well, with that, thank you, everybody, and I'll let you guys get back to your day.